Titov is a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast, joins me on the line. Welcome, Alexander. And we heard our correspondent saying it there. There's a lot of scepticism coming out of the US, and there might be a lot of people watching us right now around the world who are pretty cynical about the claims coming out of the Kremlin. It's really hard to kind of ultimately dismiss it, though, without any proof either way. What are your personal thoughts on this? Do you believe what Russia's saying?
Well, I mean, if you look at the kind of history of the conflict, and there were several attacks inside Russia, including very high-profile ones on Crimean Bridge, on the strategic air bases in near Saratov and Ryazan, which is same distance as Moscow from Ukraine. There were two high-profile assassinations of Russian journalists and pro-war bloggers just recently, a few weeks ago, in St. Petersburg, in Moscow, and Ukraine has been attacking Russian targets wherever it can get to them. So I don't see why you would dismiss that. I mean, there clearly was an explosion. There were two drones attacks. There's videos for it, so we know that that happened. It's not invented thing, and it fits very well with the pattern of Ukrainian strategy to strike Russia as much as possible.
I mean, often when there are major events, people say, and it's not clear, you know, who was actually responsible. People always say, well, who benefits from it? I mean, where does this leave the whole conflict in Ukraine now? We've heard Russia already saying that this kind of just destroys any opportunity now to talk about peace. What happens next?
Well, I don't think that kind of makes a big difference to peace. It wasn't talked about peace before, not because of the opportunity for it or anybody wanted it, but because both sides still think they can win it outright. So there's nothing to talk about. Why you still both sides having beliefs in their ultimate victory. Where it stands so well, I mean, the attack on the Crimean Bridge was used as a justification to start a full-scale attack on Ukrainian energy system, and that certainly can be used for something similar. It's certainly very personal, in a sense. The Russians emphasizing, okay, there's attack on the Kremlin, but they also say there's attack on Putin himself, which I think there kind of is a stretch. So I think it's quite easy to believe that Ukrainians did attack Kremlin, but whether Putin himself was specifically targeted, that's certainly as another thing. Doesn't seem likely anyway. But Russia already used anything it can, and all the rockets on missiles on Kiev and other things. You know, I don't know if what else it can actually have in store, apart from again hitting something very symbolic but ultimately meaningless, such as a kind of presidential office in Kiev, for example. That would be a kind of direct response, I guess.
Thank you very much to my guest, Alexander Titov, who's a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast. Thanks so much.